Hello, everyone. This is Nanette Kennedy with Humanities Team and Evolution Revolution. And this is our weekly book group. And we're now reading The New Revelations, A Conversation with God by Neale Donald Walsch. And we are going to start today with chapter 26, which my screen just went berserk. Do you have the page in front of you, Linda? Wait, I've got it. Is it 308?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Page 308. And welcome everybody to those that are listening on the recording and to those that are listening live. Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, I'm actually going to just start with the very last couple of sentences from chapter 25.
That's okay.
This is God speaking. So here is my invitation today. Do not end your life, end your confusion. And this is Neale. That really is the choice we have, isn't it? That really is. I have put it in such stark terms so that you could quickly grasp the seriousness of your present situation. Make no mistake about this. You have placed yourselves in the direst circumstance. The hearts of millions of humans have been filled with despair, with anger, with hatred, and with desperate intent. And now, thanks to the forward race of your modern technologies, you have placed in the hands of those angry humans the ability to vent their negativity with tools of destruction beyond anything of which you could have dreamed in your worst nightmares. You keep making this point. Are you trying to discourage us beyond all hope? No, I'm trying to wake you up. Okay, I'm already awake. But now that I'm awake and aware, it all looks worse, not better. Is there any hope? There is enormous hope. There is extraordinary opportunity. There is breathtaking possibility. But you must be willing now, right now, to seize the moment, to seize the day. You must decide, here and now, in these days and times, not in some far-off, distant future, whether the world is to be fashioned with tools of devastation or tools of recreation, with words of hope, with words of hate or words of hope, with acts of war or acts of peace, with thoughts of fear or thoughts of love. You must decide whether you are going to be deconstructive or constructive. You can now destroy yourself utterly, or you can recreate yourself anew in the next grandest version of the greatest vision you ever held about who you are as individuals and as a species called the human race. How can we recreate ourselves anew? How can we recreate or create a new human, a new society, a new spirituality, a new politics, a new economy, a new world? How do we do this? You have asked again, so I will answer again. Begin at the level of belief. I am telling you that the root of cause of humanity's problems is what you believe. Yet many people will not believe this. They would rather believe the beliefs that have produced the unbelievable. Your current belief systems have produced unbelievable horror, unbelievable devastation, unbelievable destruction, unbelievable cruelty, unbelievable sadness and suffering, unbelievable oppression and anger and hatred and conflict and warring and killing. The ways in which human beings behave, the things human beings do to each other are unbelievable. Yet many humans would rather accept what they cannot believe than change the things that they do. So then it is hopeless. No, it is not. Because for the first time in a very long time, the number of those people are dropping. The number of people who see that their old beliefs no longer work is growing. The number of people willing to say, there must be another way, is increasing. That number is rapidly reaching critical mass, and what you can do is help it get there. Now, here is something you should know. Critical mass is not that difficult to achieve. It is not nearly as high a number as most people think. It takes a very small percentage of the whole to form sufficient mass to affect the whole. Critical mass is not one more than half. It is not 25 or 30%. It is not even 10%. Critical mass can be achieved with less than 5% of the whole moving in any one direction. Put another way, it takes only one domino to make the rest of the dominoes fall. And so it is, as I have said twice before, what is needed now is a small number of people, a tiny percentage, who are willing to become, in their nations, in their cities, in their towns, in their villages and neighborhoods and churches and synagogues and temples and mosques and community halls and political party meetings and even their homes, the first domino. What does that look like? How can people do that? It looks like people standing up for what they believe. But first, being willing to look at what they believe, to test what they believe against the results that are being produced, and to change what they believe should the need for change be clearly indicated. In other words, it looks like taking the 5 steps to peace. Yes, each person must individually do that. Then it looks like having the openness and the courage to explore and to examine in a serious way whatever new revelations are given to the human soul when the human heart opens to create an open mind. You may wish, as a starting point, to consider the new revelations I have given you here. Neither dismiss them out of hand nor praise them to the sky, but rather look into them deeply, see if there could be any truth in them for you, determine if there could be any value in them for the human race. You owe yourself that. That much you owe yourself. There has not been a serious new theological construct presented to the human race in millennia. There has not been an expansion of your theologies in 100 generations. You have not challenged your God in a very long time. The time has come for you to have more courage than any war has ever called upon you for, than any hardship has ever demanded, than any suffering has ever required. The time has come for you to confront yourself at the level of belief. The reason this will require so much courage is that your beliefs form the basis of who you think you are. You must challenge yourself. You must challenge your society. You must challenge your world. You must collectively ask, is this who we are? Is this who we choose to be? Is this the only way we can live? Is this the only way we know how to behave? Is it possible there might be another way? Sorry about that. Might this other way bring us closer to what we say as a species that we really want? Are we missing something here? Do we have the courage to seriously look at what that might be? Do we have the courage to accept the answer that our searching uncovers? How can we do this searching, this asking, in a way that makes a difference? People have been asking themselves these questions forever. I don't see that the asking, the searching, or even the finding of new answers ever changes very much of how the world works or how life is. things go on pretty much as they have before. Group action is what is required now. You cannot do this alone, nor can one charismatic leader or one spiritual teacher produce a miracle. The time for individual gurus who come along and change the world is over. The time for collective consciousness and collective action to change the collective reality is at hand. This is as it should be, for your present reality has been collectively created. It is now time for you to collectively recreate it anew. Work then in a collective. Do not follow individual masters, but master collective consciousness individually. Then work collectively to awaken the collective called humanity. The world is now ready and able to take such action, for group communication is now possible as it was never possible before. The whole world is now linked. The entire planet is now connected. You have tools that you never had before. You mean the internet? All of your modern technologies, all of them. The internet, cell phones, faxes, emails, easily made homemade videos, CDs that you can burn right in your home computer and send anywhere, you name it. You have moved into the era of instant and easy worldwide communication. It has been said that your rapidly advancing technologies are threatening to destroy humanity. They are also that which can save it. Use them to create the new reality that you wish to experience. Use them to create the new human that you wish to become. Use them to build the new spirituality that you wish to express. But remember to use them collectively. It is the collective action that is destroying the world. It is only collective action that can save it. Yes, that is why it has been suggested here that people form groups that will collectively commit to taking the 5 steps to peace, have petitions signed, sponsor discussions and dialogues, print booklets and flyers, publish the 5 steps in the newspaper, something like this. As we seek to create harmony in our world, we, the undersigned, hereby publicly commit to taking the 5 steps of peace. 1, we acknowledge that certain old beliefs about life and God are no longer working. 2, we acknowledge that there is something we do not understand about God and about life, the understanding of which could change everything. 3, we are willing for a new understandings of God and life to now be brought forth, understandings that could produce a new way of life on this planet. 4, we are willing to experience and examine these new understandings, and if they align with our inner truth and knowing, to enlarge our belief system to include them. 5, we are willing to live our lives as a demonstration of our beliefs. Ask prominent figures in the community, including political and business leaders, to sign on to it before it gets published and have their signatures included at the bottom. Create a groundswell. Get groups involved, citizens groups, civic and service groups, church and religious groups, cultural and educational groups, senior and youth groups, government and legislative groups, creative coalitions of presently existing groups, create coalitions of presently existing groups, form new groups. Don't let this idea go away. Yet what can be done to motivate people to step to the line like that? The excitement of new possibilities, the assurance that they do have the power to change the world. If people think they are important, they will do nothing. If people think they are impotent, they will do nothing. If people believe there is something they can do, they will do it. You must convince people that there is something they can do, and then show them how it can be done more easily than they could have ever imagined if they will first create a state of being and then allow what they do to flow naturally from what they are being, rather than to try and find something to do just to do something without changing what they are being at all. Just doing something is not the answer. The whole world community has been trying to do something about its problems for a very long time. The human race is still acting as it has been acting for centuries. Being something is the answer. The whole world community has not tried to be something in response to its problems for a very long time. Yet this is what the world would produce lasting change. The human race could then stop acting as it has been acting for centuries. When what you are doing is a reflection of what you are being, rather than an attempt to create what you wish you were being, you will know that you have produced lasting change in yourself. This is what produces lasting change in the world. Remember what was said earlier. You cannot do peaceful. You can only be peaceful. You cannot do loving. You can only be loving. You cannot do unified. You can only be unified. Seek then to shift your state of being. Do not seek first to change the world. Seek first to change the self. When you achieve that, your actions will automatically change. Hold it. Do not seek to change the world. This entire conversation has been about changing the world. I said, do not seek first to change the world. You will not change the world by trying first to change the world. You will change the world by first changing yourself. You must first decide some important things about yourself. Come to some new conclusions within yourself about who you are, about God, about life, and then begin to live those decisions. This inner process can, in fact, produce changes in the world around you, for the world that you touch is affected by how you touch it. Who you are and how you are affects the world to a much greater degree than you might imagine. Yet remember this, you cannot achieve inner peace by being agitated if you do not achieve outer peace. Therefore, do not tie your efforts at personal transformation to a result called planetary transformation, or you may achieve neither. Share with the people of the world if you wish, but share with them not what you think their experience should be, but what you know your experience has been. Teach others if they ask, but teach them not what you have, their answers, but that they have their own. And drop any expectation that any decision you are making or any information you are sharing about who you are and what you will choose to be will have any impact on anything or anyone else at all. Do not require results, those results. Why? I don't understand. I just don't understand it. Don't results bring us a sense of satisfaction that allows us to go on? If it is results that bring you a sense of satisfaction that allows you to go on, then lack of results will bring you a sense of frustration that will cause you not to go on. And in this, you will defeat yourself. I see that, but how do we get around it? By being clear why you are engaged in whatever you are being and doing to begin with, which is self-realization. To realize the self at the next highest level, to know who you really are, and to experience that. This is called evolution. This is the work of the whole of humanity. And this is its joy. For your joy is in becoming greater than you are, and in knowing yourself as that. Entire species evolve in this way, and in no other. Do not change your beliefs because you want other people to change theirs. Change your beliefs because your new beliefs announce more accurately who you are. Yet even as you change, do not be surprised if other people change and if the world around you changes. For the change in you will act as a catalyst in producing change in others. Not because you have sought to produce change in others, but more probably because you have not. People do not change because they are told to change. People may temporarily alter their behavior because they have been told to do so by those who have power over them, but this is not real change. That is merely a surface shift, outward demeanor. Inner truth has not shifted. As soon as the power over them has been lifted or can no longer be exerted, people's behavior returns to that which is motivated by their inner truth. The parent of every teenager knows this. The tyrant who would rule any country finds it out. Change is an act of freedom, not an act of compliance. Obedience is not creation, and creation is the only act of evolution. Seek not, therefore, to change the world. Seek to be the change you wish to see in the world. Didn't Gandhi say that? Yes, and he demonstrated it. First, he attained a state of being. This is work that he did from within. Then and only then did his outward doing become the kind of doing that changed the world. He did not achieve a state of being as a result of what he was doing. What he was doing reflected the state of being he had achieved. Do you understand this now? I understand it. You've explained it quite well. But I don't understand how to make it work. I mean, I don't understand how to get it going, how to make it happen. How do you change your inner state of being? And can't what you're doing affect what you are being? Doesn't listening to soft music sometimes help you be more calm? Doesn't prayer or meditation sometimes help you be at peace? Yes, you can achieve a state of being by what you are doing. You are quite correct about this. You have noticed it, and it is true. Yet getting to a place of being through something you are doing is a very long way around. And much more important, it is rarely more than temporary. Most people do not put on a soft piece of music and remain calm the rest of their lives. Most people do not pray and continue to be at peace in every succeeding moment. A decision to come from peace and love, rather than try to get to them, turns everything around. It completely shifts the axis of your experience. It places a source of what you desire within you, rather than outside of you. It makes it accessible to you at all times and in all places. This is genuine power, the kind of power that changes lives and changes the world. This level of complete inner peace and total love for all humankind can be reached in a single moment. It can also take a lifetime. Everything depends on you. Everything depends on how deeply you desire it. You may achieve any inner state of being you wish by simply choosing it and calling it forth. At present, most of your states of being are reactions. They do not have to be this. You can make them creations. Help me with this. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Let me give you an example of a means of explanation, as a means of explanation. Right now, when you move into any moment, you rarely do so with your state of being determined ahead of time. You wait until you see what the moment contains and provides, and then you respond by being something. Perhaps you wind up being sad. Perhaps you wind up being happy. Perhaps you wind up being disappointed or elated. But now, suppose you decide ahead of time how you are going to be when you moved into that moment. Suppose you decided that you were going to be peaceful, no matter how that moment showed up. Do you think it would make any difference in the way that you experienced that moment itself? Of course it would. Let me tell you something. It is when you decide how you are going to show up before the moment shows up that you have begun to move to mastery. You have learned to master the moment, and that is the beginning of mastery in living. When you decide ahead of time that your inner state of being is going to be peaceful and loving, understanding and compassionate, sharing and forgiving, no matter what any outer moment brings, then the outer world loses its power over you. Others cannot convince you to join them in their behaviors if behaviors do not coincide with your inner state of being. Political or religious leaders will seek to rally you to their cause, but it will be no use unless you are in harmony at the deepest part of your being with what they are saying or doing. This sounds so wonderful, but what could make me choose an inner state of being that is different from what the outer world is sending me? I mean, how can I be something that the world is not letting me be? Do you understand the question? How can I be peaceful if the world is destroying itself? To use one example. Hang on, I need to cough. You can be peaceful no matter what the outer world is doing. And the wonderful irony of this is that what the outer world is doing will very often be affected by what you are being. I'm sure you have already heard the advice that if you chance upon a rattlesnake, the best thing to do is stay calm, back away slowly, and you will come to no harm. The last thing to do is turn and run. I'm sure you've heard that the advice that when you are getting on a horse, the last thing to do is to let the horse think that you are afraid. If you do not let the horse know that you are in charge, the horse will be in charge of you. Have you heard these things? Yeah? Yes? Good. I'm using them here as a metaphor for life. How do you remain peaceful when the world is demonstrating everything but peace? Loving when the world is demonstrating everything but love? Forgiving when the world is demonstrating everything but forgiveness? You insist on being who you are, no matter what the rest of the world is being. Slowly, the world you touch will change. Hang on, I have to cough again. Now, imagine what would happen if everyone did this. Yet you cannot insist on being who you are if you do not know who you are. Thus, this decision must be made ahead of time. Remember this always. What you are being is who you are. You are not what you are doing. You are a human being. End of chapter.
Thank you. I'm going to let you start this discussion because I have to run to the little girls' room. I'm sure everybody wanted to know that. But I will be right back. So if you could go ahead and start it, that'd be great.
Sure. Does anybody have any comments?
What more is there to say, Linda? I mean, he covered the whole shebang.
Well, he does, I guess.
But he has to keep writing books because no one gets it.
I don't know if it's that no one gets it or that not enough people are doing what's suggested. You know? Like, I haven't published the 5 Steps to Peace in my newspaper here in my town. So I guess I better do that.
I mean, you've been vibrating them in person.
Yeah. Yeah, I have. But, you know, that's, you know, I think it's multiple things, right? Because everybody has something different that they can see. So some people might see me doing that, but other people might not see it at all. But if something was in the paper, they would see that.
Well, the verbal ones, the intellectual ones, but you know, the 18 inches between the mind and the heart are the longest journey.
Yeah.
Your expression was priceless as usual. It's so much more fun to hear you read than to read it myself. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It always surprises me where it moves me.
That's the best part because for someone who's been born awake, sometimes I admire you and sometimes I'm just mad at you that you're so much further ahead than me. But my goodness, Linda, you haven't landed in C word for nothing. I mean, it's requiring everything you've got.
That it is. That it is. That's true, Shabana.
So it just leaves me in awe of the synchronicity because I've been putting in my very best effort where I'm at. And these folks that I'm dealing with my puny strength compared to yours, are about the hardest nuts to crack that I've ever met, you know? I mean, it's Sledgehammer City. And that's a metaphor, you know? So, I mean, every one of us is at work in a different way, but I didn't know it was 5%. I thought we'd already reached critical mass at 3%.
Yeah, I don't know.
May I say something?
Absolutely.
Shavana mentioned the distance between the mind and the heart. And to me, the distance is not that distance, but you and I talked, Linda, earlier, and it's the distance between knowing and being, you know, knowing all this stuff and actually embodying the knowledge. And that's part of what this chapter talks about, with where we have to be it and then demonstrate that for other people, not just try to bash them over the head with the ideas, which is something that I, you know, have probably been guilty of more than I want to think about. So that's what really struck me from this chapter is, you know, and that's part, because that's what is my lesson right now, is to learn how to get from knowing in my mind and in my heart even, and yet embodying that as I go about my business. Thank you. Over.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's what I meant, Mary, because the only people that I could lecture were my children. And they quickly became allergic to it. But I'm the least powerful of my family members. And with them, it has to be being, because otherwise they'll, you know, react in ways that even my children would admire. So it's a tough one. I mean, it's like you admit it's your own vulnerability. Just being it is very, very challenging. Over.
You know, when he said, right at the very end of this chapter, when God says, remember this always, what you are being is who you are. That's
Yeah.
Right. Not who I think I am, but who I'm actually being in the world.
yeah. And I, you know, and I have a negative response to that this morning, because I was in the you know, I've got a lodging business, and I was in the laundry room dealing with something, and somebody came along and asked me a question, and I wasn't present in the moment, and I was short. And I read that sentence, and it's like, so in that moment, I was short. I wasn't peaceful. I wasn't calm. I wasn't even present. The being that I was in that moment was short. And that upsets me, because that isn't who I ever set out to be. And so I don't know, just this, it's just like it just crystallizes how important it is to really find a way to be centered and present and stay there. And how, and it just shows how easily you can get knocked off that.
I agree with you, Linda. Because besides some of the health issues I've gotten, I've been having some problems at home with family. And really, I have to concentrate on not blowing up and completely losing it. And so I feel like sometimes I'm shorter than I'd like to be. Only 5'3", but that's not what I meant. Um, the My temper has been short fuse lately, and I'm not going off like a banshee Indian, but I'm not reacting the way I would like to be reacting. Over.
Yeah, I know energetically it's been very challenging lately to stay in peace and harmony. Life just is, the world is a little overwhelming at the moment. And I think that that's our challenge. One of the teachers that I follow in addition to Neil is Matt Kahn. And on the last call that he did, he made the remark that we are the first wave of ascension. Like the people that are in this work, people that are listening to him, the people that are listening to Neil, that's what he was referring to, that these people, us, we're all the first wave of ascension. And it was a reassuring feeling when he said that I had, because it was like, it gave me the visual of all these other waves of people that are out there that just, they're not at that level of awakeness yet, right? And so what's happening is we're the demonstrators. We do the stuff that Neil talks about. We do the stuff that Matt talks about. We become the showers of the way. And at the same time that we're the showers of the way, we're the learners of the way, right? Because we're the first ones. And sometimes that feeling is just overwhelming. And I think it's important that we all allow ourselves to give voice to that, because this is new work. There aren't any other humans that have ever walked the earth as a group that have tried to do what we're trying to do. And I think I'm complete. Thank you.
Well, I was just going to add, Linda, to what you said, that if we get too hard on ourselves, that's an invitation to start feeling guilty. And guilt doesn't ever change anything. At least it doesn't for me. It just makes me feel bad. So I think we do need to be easier on ourselves, and we do need to voice when, little hills, maybe big hills that we have to go over. So I hear you and I understand. Over. Anybody else want to add anything? Well, before we go to the meditation, do we want to vote on which book we should read next? Because I'm good with whatever we choose.
Well, doesn't it make sense to jump to the next new one?
That's fine with me. Angela, were you saying something? I can't
No.
hear. Put it in the chat window.
What about communion with God? I've gone and bought it because you mentioned it.
Well, we're still going to read it, no matter what we choose this time.
All right. I'm just suggesting that since I've got it.
Well, what does everybody else think? I like I said, I can go either way.
I'm good with the new book after reading Angela's.
Okay. Let's just do that. And what's the title of it again, Linda? You want to put that in the chat window?
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
It's The Essential Path. It's $9.99 Kindle or $12.18 hardcover is what it says in Amazon.
Okay.
Making Daring Decisions.
I don't know if they have to do too much to get us to do that, but all right. So let's see. Oh, good. You put the link in there. Okay. All right. Well, I've got it open. All right.
Yeah, and just let me just mention, because I'm looking at the screen, it says if you, I don't know if anybody likes Audible books, but if you get the Kindle version, you can get the Audible for $7.49.
Oh.
That's a nice deal.
Yeah, it is. Perfect.
I doubt the audio is as good as yours, Linda.
Yeah, I bet not too.
Well,
But
you never know. It might be Neil reading it. I don't know who he has reading his books, but it might be him reading it, which would be good, which would be nice. But
yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't say, does it?
Uh-uh.
All right. Well, thanks for that information. And Shibana, you want to take it away?
Yes.
Okay.
Lord God, we're all in a mess because we're so imperfect, but our intention is to be peace. As we have read here, we want to decide ahead of time that our inner state of being is going to be peaceful and loving, understanding and compassionate, sharing and forgiving, no matter what any outer moment brings. Then the outer world loses its power over us. Linda and Nanette and Mary are like me in admitting that we have the need to be all the qualities that are desperately needed now. You are the God who can help us, and we're calling upon you, every one of us in this group, Sarah and Angela, Linda, Nanette, Mary, and I, and thanking you already that you've heard the deepest desire of our heart, which is for you to help us actualize our intention to be the next grandest version of the greatest vision ever we had about ourselves. And we are already angels. We are already gods. Help us to know this and thereby be it and spread it. Thank you. Amen. Okay.
Thank you, Shabana.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Nanette.
Oh, thank you. And we will chat again next Sunday. And
Yeah.
we'll see you all then. I love you all.
Love you too, Nanette.
Okay.
Love you too. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.